Love Island USA Season 7, the reunion. This is technically episode 37. This is like the final bit here. The show ended some weeks ago. The finale was on the 13th of July. This reunion aired on the 25th of August, so like a full 6 weeks. They did film it like 2 weeks ago in New York, so there's already been some things that have happened, even just today, the day of the reunion. To start with, like Iris and Pepe both unfollowed each other on Instagram. Same for our winners of this season, Amaya and Brian. And I like how in this day and age, like basically unfollowing someone on Instagram is basically like the announcement before the announcement, like, oh yeah, we're not together anymore. So I don't, it's almost like you need another reunion because like what happened there. We're going to talk about all those kind of things, I guess, a little bit. And this is going to definitely be a longer one because there's just so much. This reunion was 2 hours. For comparison, the last series, season 6's reunion was an hour and 20 minutes. This was 40 minutes longer, and there was still a lot they could have gone over. I feel like I remember the night they were filming, I feel like they were like, Andy Cohen was saying, like, yeah, we're still going at it. Like, they were filming for a very long time, and I obviously, you can't put single thing on TV. But this was quite a long reunion. There was a lot going on, and like I said, there's still been more stuff happening in the 2 weeks since they filmed it. And I'm sure there's going to continue to be more later. Before I even dig into that, I am curious. I've said before, like, Love Island Beyond the Villa is airing right now, and that's about some people of the season 6 cast. I wonder if they would do Beyond the Villa with the season 7 cast. Like maybe like move to season, because I'm not sure if they will renew like the season 6, like either on Peacock's end, but also on their end, like if they're gonna want to continue to do it. I don't know. But let's just get into this reunion a little bit. Quick recap, essentially, like for the finale, like remembering who placed where. The finale, the placements were Iris and Pepe fourth, who now seemingly may be broken up because other Islanders unfollowed Pepe as well, whatever. Huda and Chris, third place. Remember they infamously broke up the night of the episode of the final, which I don't think has ever happened in any iteration of Love Island in any country ever. They were a toxic mess, kind of a trend, kind of some of the Huda thing. Second place, Landria, Nick, and first place, Amaya and Brian, who now again seemingly have split. Those couples are the first ones out. Also, I should mention Ariana Madix and Andy Cohen are hosting, which when they announced Andy Cohen was hosting, I was so happy because I think Andy Cohen, I've seen a few of like the Housewives reunions or other little things that he's done. He's a great person to kind of get some instigation on this kind of thing, kind of like help Ariana in terms of like making sure you help dig some of these things out because people love to run away from questions, as we definitely saw tonight. So we start with those final 4 couples who come out first. Andy asked Brian about Brian and Maya, like the whole kind of thing. Brian, like alleged cheating, which I didn't know about. Like I wasn't really seeing all this, but I guess there was a night where he was like maybe had an appearance at like a club. Maybe he was like pouring shots for girls or whatever like that, or pouring into their mouths. I don't really know. He kind of just said I had a lapse in judgment, and Maya's just like laughing it off. And Chris was there with Austin apparently that same night, and Chris was like, I didn't see anything. Like whatever. It's people make things up or yada yada whatever. I don't know. Again, like I said from earlier, it seems like Amaya and Brian might have separated at this point. I never really knew with them. Like Amaya is definitely like a solo winner. I feel like I don't know if I thought they were gonna last in general, but that's kind of their status update. Iris and Pepe, they say like they're exclusive and they're in a good direction. Want to be girlfriend and boyfriend like it's coming. Andy says to Iris like soon after you came out, TMZ filmed you meet with TJ and like tell us about it. And Iris is like, yeah, I want to tell him like what I felt like wasn't fake, etc. Like my heart is with Pepe and like that whole kind of thing. And TJ in the back like watching this happening. He's like, yeah, it's things move forward, whatever. And later on he's saying like, yeah, it's good, like we move on, whatever. Pepe says he spoke to Hannah like on phone and knows it's good. And Hannah in the back's like when she has anxiety, whatever. We're gonna talk about actually Hannah and Pepe a little bit later because Hannah has some things with Charlie as well, and like her getting dumped, all types of things to go with Hannah. Andy says like to Huda and Chris, like it's obvious things are like kind of awkward because you guys are sat apart because all the couples are sitting together, but then it's like Huda, Amaya and Brian, and then Chris, like they're separate. Obviously we know they had their whole debacle. Andy's like, how was it seeing each other? Huda's like, yeah, it's fine. Chris is like, it's weird. Yeah, it's definitely weird for me. Like it's mad weird. And Andy says to Chris like, actually says to Huda, you saying Chris had like running commentary on the girls and had like a wandering eye, and Huda's like, yeah, but we're not a match, and like didn't really address what she said, just like, oh, we're not a match, like it's all good. And Ariana said to Chris like, what do you think about what she said? Chris is like, I don't respect it at all, like we won't be friends. I don't respect it. Like, you were on the interview. Like, they kept saying in the interview, the podcast, it was Call Her Daddy. I'm not sure if she's done really anything more, but it was Call Her Daddy. And you're like, you said, like, yada yada. Like, you had a month to reach out to me, but like 2-3 days before this reunion, you reach out, and like, I don't respect it. Like, it's kind of weird. And she's saying, like, oh, I called him, and it was on my mind, and seeing that I kept seeing more hate for him on my For You page, and I wanted to apologize. And my whole thing is like, again, like kind of Chris said, you had a month to say anything about a lot of, not even just the Chris thing, but a lot of the stuff that we're going to get to tonight with Huda. You had a month to like say something. You didn't. And then like some people you're trying to like do in private, like, again, oh, conveniently you reach out 2 days before the reunion to Chris, like maybe they're trying to smooth things over that way. Things go over better at the reunion. It's weird. And Ariana's like, in the future, can you guys reconcile and like be friends, whatever? And he's like, I can forgive, but like, I'm friends now. Andy asked Huda, like, we've seen you out and about some things, like, are you single? And she's like, I can't speak on it for legal reasons, Netflix. And Andy Cohen's like, we're on Peacock right now. This is like the biggest show of the summer. What are you talking about? She's like, oh, legal reasons, I can't. We all have seen, because he was like, you were on the red carpet for someone. She's been on the, like, she seemingly is dating, I think his name was Louis Russell. He was, I think people first met him and like knew him on Perfect Match. This summer he was on the show on Netflix, Too Hot to Handle is where we first met him. But this summer he was on Perfect Match. And maybe that's the whole legal reasons, like that is still airing. It just ended, I think, like last week. So maybe they can't like say, oh, he's with someone else, clearly, because that means it didn't work out with whoever he was like seeing on the show. But it's not like they're hiding. They're literally been out on red carpets together. They've been doing all these things. Like, it's very kind of clear that they are together in a way. And there's also been the whole thing with like that guy, and he's like was formerly best friends with Miguel of last season, and like Miguel unfollowed him, and he said some things about him, and same with PPG and some other things, because like maybe he's trying to go for Huda for clout chasing reasons, because obviously she's really popular right now. I don't know, this whole kind of thing. But she's like, I can't talk about it legal reasons. And people like, does Netflix know that you're like, it was just, I don't know. It's just Huda today. There's a lot to go with Huda. We're going to talk about Nick and Landria status update. They're doing well. They said, like, what do you think about the people who think this is all fake? And Landria's like, I call them my other fan base, like, because you guys are so obsessed. They ask Nick, and like both of them, like, have either of you guys spoke to Sierra? Like, she won't be joining us tonight, and she was a big part of your journey, obviously, Nick. So have you spoke to her, and like from an Instagram question or whatever like that? And Nick was like, I have not. I don't plan on it. I feel like I thought about it initially, like that was maybe like my intention coming out, like just to like whatever. But then I saw she was posting some things and was like, being shady and weird about things, and I feel like she was more focused on the attention rather than like fixing anything, if there was anything to fix. And I'm like, period, Nick, like, stand on it. Like, Nick is alright for me. After that, the Final Four had their like couple intros, catch-ups, whatever. Clark and Taylor, and then also Shelly and Ace come out and join the Final Four. Andy talks to Taylor about the situation with like Alandria and whatever's like, and Alandria and Nick kind of came back and surprised everyone, like, were you actually really torn at that point? He was like, yeah. And Alandria was like, for me it was weird because I saw some things once I came out, like, hear conversations of you saying you weren't physically attracted to me, like, from the beginning. If I knew that, I wouldn't be like wasting my time, and I'm not someone who's like gonna want someone to like develop that, and like that, because of that I didn't know that. Maybe it looked like I was chasing after him or something like that, like that whole narrative, but I wouldn't be wasting my time if it was like reciprocated, whatever. And Taylor does this whole kind of like half-ass, like, oh, but it's tough and yada yada, but we were close enough, but that's my dog, you're still my dog. And Jalander is just like, I don't know with Taylor. I wish him and Clark well. They seem to be getting on fine, but still, like, the whole Alandria thing, like, I still very firmly believe he was clearly just like keeping her sweet until the next like best thing came in his eyes. Because like the minute Jalen came in and started putting pressure on Alandria, he got the pep talk from Ace, and suddenly Taylor was like, oh, let me do this, that, and that, and like do whatever. And that's why everyone was so shocked in a way. I mean, I get in terms of like seeing me, I was so upset too at Alandria. Like, Alandria, I wish you would just see like that he's kind of just stringing you along and like breadcrumbing you. But it's also, I'm realized that I'm seeing this like kind of, not even a full picture, but I'm seeing like his conversation that she hasn't seen. She doesn't know all this. And it was obviously upsetting seeing her like give him chance or whatever, and like not even giving Jalen a proper chance or other things like that. When he, like, again, thinking about the whole not physically attracted to her, thinking about how like he suddenly was putting pressure on after he got the pep talk from Ace, after Jalen was putting pressure and all these things. Like, it's just so frustrating. But I feel like really the way he moved with that, like the whole like literally, like I said, keeping her sweet just so he can like make it to like get the person he wanted to be with, which ended up being Clark. And again, I wish him the best, whatever. But like the way he treated Elandria was not cool. Like he could have just told her some of these things much earlier on so she could actually like get a chance to flourish. And if that meant that she went home, she didn't get a connection, then fair play. At least she wouldn't have felt like, oh, I wasted 6 weeks with the guy who I imagine coming out of the villa. You're with the guy. Well, you're not with him anymore. But imagine coming out of the villa. You have a big part of your experience with someone is someone you thought was genuine with you and all these kind of things. And yeah, it didn't work out. He's with someone else, but you still felt like, okay, like it just didn't work out, whatever. But then imagine you find out that week 1 or like it was like week 1 or 2 that he's saying, I'm not physically attracted to her. And like, yeah, I know physical attraction can grow a lot of times, but like, and like she was psyching herself out, like that's why he's a slow burner, because like he's just slow burner in general. But now it's actually, I realize he was slow with me, a slow burner, because he wasn't physically attracted to me. Like to me, man, let me tell you, I would be sick. Like imagine, again, she had moved on, she was with Nick, and that was like a newer thing, and then also he had his situation. But like imagine finding that out and being able to piece some things together and just feeling like an idiot because you're clearly seeing, I know she probably was bombarded with a lot of like, Elandria, you dummy. Like again, I was feeling it too to some level, but also I was having compassion of like, she's not seeing what we're seeing fully. Like and also I know it's a very tough situation. I don't know. I just, whatever. Moving on. Shelly and Ace are there as well, and they talk about like, could we clear up like some of the rumors people had that you guys had like a game plan of getting together, like how long were you talking and like how did you meet, whatever. Ace like repeats their story, like, yeah, we met in New York and we got to know each other through social media. And he was like, some people have noticed that you've been like consistently liking, commenting on her posts since like July 2022, and like, which suggests like there's more than just like this like quick meeting. And Ace was like, I'm always someone who like will do that to people, and Shelly, that doesn't make sense because we met last year. And Andy's like, yeah, maybe he like went back and liked more. He's like, yeah, I might have done that, whatever. I don't know. I never believed that they like had this plot to like come on Love Island and pair up and like do all this. I do think that Ace especially was very strategic about some of the things he was doing, but I don't necessarily think that him and Shelly like worked out this plan before to like come on Love Island and like take it over or whatever. Like that never flew with me. They're exclusive, not boyfriend and girlfriend yet. It would be his Ace's first girlfriend, and last he said as well. But he says he's in love with her. I was asking someone, I texted someone in the middle of the show. I was like, do you like fall in love first, or you become boyfriend girlfriend first? Like I feel like it's a question people talk about all the time. Like which one comes first? I don't know, but they seem to be doing good, and that's nice. And also they asked them about like, how did you guys feel like getting dumped, obviously, and they're like, it feels like it was weird because like the point of the show is Love Island and the whole kind of thing, and like even before that, some of the challenges when you were put lower, that I forget what challenge it was called, but like when we had those ranks, we had to rank everyone in the app, whatever, and Shelly and Ace were put at the bottom for a couple of things, either individually or together. And Shelly was like, yeah, I feel like after the heart rate challenge, like after that I started being called a mean girl, so some of that might have like bled into some of the things. And Elandria's like, that was so confused to me because like one, the Islanders, before the public's choice was revealed, the Islanders put everyone where they thought they would be, and Shelly and Ace were always kind of higher up, and then the public was revealed and that it was like towards the bottom. And Elandria was like, Ace is not a villain and Shelly is not a mean girl. I've never surrounded myself with people like that, and just like being there for them. So that was kind of check up on them. After that, we have the Casa Islanders come and join, and also Austin, Andrina, and TJ. And Zach with the K is joining remotely. First, Austin says he's single, and him and Jaden are done. And they talk, they ask them like, so you guys left together, like what happened with you two? And Jaden's like, Austin can take that one. And then Austin's just like, I don't know. Austin seemed like he was just zoned out of it this whole reunion. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know it was a long night, but he just seemed like he was really out of it. And he was like, well, I don't know. And Jaden said like, okay, well, I just told you I wanted transparency in my relationship. I respect that with all my relationships in this respect. I told him like, if you want to see other people and sleep around, whatever, just like, that's fine. Just let me know. Like, just like let me know in advance. And Austin's like, well, and she said like I didn't get that. And Austin's like, well, I don't think I ever replied to that message. And she's like, we talked about it in person too. And he was like, but did you read it? Because that's almost worse. Like she's telling you this is a good situation, like in a way. Like she's telling you you can sleep with other people, but just like don't embarrass me. And she's like, yeah, I went to one of the first parties I went to a party, and all these girls came up to me and were basically telling me, oh yeah, Austin was just on a date. I asked him about it. He lied about it. And Austin was like, yeah, but I can date you and still date someone else. And Ariana's like, yeah, but she's asking for honesty. So it was basically, essentially, he was getting to other people, which is fine. But again, she had said very clearly, just I want honesty about it, and he just wasn't honest. Zach, again with the K, is remotely, and they talked to him about the Maya situation. Like, do you feel like you switched up with the Maya when we found out she was very popular? And he was like, well, like he apologized for the standing on business challenge where he was like piling on after Austin and Ace were already kind of piling on Maya, maybe like how quick she moved. And he said, like, I didn't change how I felt about her, like, even finding out she was popular, like, I still wanted to get to know her or whatever. And Andy was like, you were saying some things on the live about Brian, maybe like him not being genuine and wanting it for the money. And Zach's like, no, I didn't. Brian's like, you should double check that. And all right, Maya's like, you were just acting with me and all these types of things. And like, for everybody, you were just a big actor and worried about whatever. So that was kind of just like Ox. And Maya has said a couple times, like, the person who's the fakest in the villa is Zach and all these things, whatnot. Coco. Now, Coco now, again, I'm not watching all these little things that are happening in a bunch, but I had seen enough snippets of Coco, like, of just chatting up. And really this whole reunion, Shelly and Alandria really, if anyone stood on business, Shelly and Alandria really stood on business, and they would not allow themselves to be swayed. So essentially Coco was like, you said in the interview that some girls were standoffish, and she's like, yeah, like, well, Alandria, when she came back, like, let's before she said, well, let me just say what she said. When she came back, she was standoffish, and like you could tell she wanted her girls there and like whatever. So let's remember when Alandria and Nick were like fake dumped, they went back to the villa, but they went back to the main villa, and Casa Amor was still happening. So her friends, Shelly and Iris and Amaya, whatever, were at the Casa Amor villa, and Alandria was thrown into a villa with the OG boys, Taylor, her guy, Taylor, Ace, Nick, all these other people, and these Casa Amor girls. So she wasn't there with her people, and she's in the situation. So she's saying like, you know, like, yeah, I mean, I'm in a situation where I got fake dumped. I'm seeing Taylor getting to know someone else. Like, I don't have my support, my girls who I've gotten close with there. Like, okay. And apparently the night before, some of the people were out or whatever. And JD, who was one of the Casa boys, which let me tell you, the Casa people, I honestly forgot that some of them were even on this season. I was really like, were they on this season? Are we sure? And also, I don't know what Elaine was looking like. Elaine looked crazy today. Some people like that, perhaps, but I don't know what the fact that was. Anyways, JD, one of the Casa guys, asked Alandria, like, do you want to speak to Coco? And she said, I'm cool. And Alandria was like, yeah, I was fine with her, like, on the outside, but like some of the things that I'm seeing, like, I'm not effing with it. She was on a podcast saying, like, I was like, oh, like, my man. I barely spoke to those girls, so where's that coming from? And Coco was suddenly, everyone today was, all of a sudden we're backtracking. It's a lot of, I saw this tweet, someone said, like, it's a lot of yap on the podcast and stuff, but then when you get onto the show, suddenly it's mumbles and grumbles and I don't know. So Coco was basically doing that, and I was like, right, well, if you're going to go on a podcast speaking about your true experience and not speak about other things, whatever. And Shelly came in as well and said, like, it seemed like you were feeding into the idea that Alandria was being delusional about Taylor, and that's like not really great. And also screenshots of you like hearting things about me and Alandria, like, oh, she should have been in there, they should have been sent home, whatever. And there was a big hate train already, and you were just like feeding into it. And Andy was like, who was feeding into it? And Shelly said, like, Coco with her thing, and like Coco was like, yeah, I DM'd you, Alandria, like, about it. And Alandria said, yeah, I read it, I wasn't effing with it. And if you did this in the public, then you need to like apologize or like clear it up in public too. And Shelly said Vanna too, like, went on Nick Vile's podcast and was saying Shelly was standoffish and yada yada whatever. And Alandria said Huda did too. She went on Call Her Daddy and said she like played into the bully narrative that was already stirred up. And we're gonna talk about Huda. Huda's more with the three of them are at the end. So like, but I'm telling you, with Coco especially, and Vanna as well, I forget what Vanna even said, whatever. But like, again, people are chatting up. People were chatting up a lot, and then they get in person with people, and then suddenly it's, I'm sorry you felt, they're stumbling, grumbling, mumbling. It's like, well, I can't hear you speak. A mess. Moving on now to, okay, so another girl, Casa girl Grayson, who was with Pepe. It was like, how did you feel finding out about Huda being the one to write the message to the Understand on Business Challenge about Pepe, you like Hannah more than Grayson, it's clear, whatever, and like you never knew about that. We found out about it because Huda told Chris, and Grayson was like, yeah, Pepe said I felt sad, or like I was sucked because obviously Grayson was hurt by that, and Grayson was like, yeah, like it hurt knowing someone like I wish she would have stood up and like said something about it, and Huda's like, I felt terrible, and she apologized and whatever. But the thing is, again with Huda, if you felt so terrible about saying that and hurting Grayson, and everyone around the villa that day was like, who said that? That's so mean. Like, and it could have been, yeah, maybe the way it was phrased, because I do think in a way, like, Pepe was still thinking about Hannah, like it was valid. But it was like, if you felt so terrible about it and you were like, boohoo crying, I'm feeling so bad, why are you only bringing it up at the reunion? Or like, why are you only apologizing? Or why didn't you say anything the night of, the next day? If you felt so bad about it, where was the? That's what I'm not getting. It's like, oh, again, it's very convenient that we're apologizing or whatever. Grace, I was talking to Pepe about like, I wish you were honest early to get to know more people, whatever. And Pepe was like, I was, and I don't know, whatever. Again, another girl I almost forgot was on the show. Ace and like Shelly, they asked like, how was it like you two seeing each other, like Ace getting to know Coco and Shelly getting to know Chris, like how was it? And Coco was like, I feel like I wish I could have been more focused. Ace could have been more honest about like maybe he was more focused on Shelly, whatever. Again, Coco was just trying to find something to cling on to. Someone else I feel like to go on a podcast about. I don't really know. And then the Huda and Shelly and Chris situation gets brought up, and they talk about like her bringing Chris from Casa, and like in Shelly and Huda's eyes, she was like, I was doing this for both of us. And Shelly was like, I feel like that would be a simple understanding of it. Like Huda kept kind of going about, we talked a lot of times, she kept going about like, this is for you, whatever. They played unseen footage at Casa More before the recoupling, and Huda was talking to Shelly about bringing Chris potentially back and saying he likes you, but he also is interested in me, like, so it could be like good, like it can be like a win-win type thing, whatever. And the footage does seem more like kind of Huda's side in terms of like bringing him for both of us, but Shelly was like, there were a lot more chats than that, and you kept trying to, and I don't like how you were making it seem like you were doing me a favor, helping me out, and whatever. And there was a chat where you had said, yeah, even if you told me you didn't want me to do that, I would still bring him in because I know what you want. And apparently Sierra was there, and Sierra was like, that's kind of mad to say, whatever. And Huda was like, I've moved on from it, and clearly you're happy. You should be focusing on that. Pause. Why are you telling me, oh, we should be focusing on that? Why are you telling me what I need to be focusing on? The gall. Anyway, Shelly is like, yeah, I'm happy and I'm focusing on whatever, but I just want to say, like, I never thought Chris was only for me, but like we came out, we were cool, speaking, etc. And you wanted a podcast, we're apologetic at one point, whatever, had like, to me personally, and then you had so many other fires to put out. I mean, you talked about me, like whatever, and it was like, it's just like basically like it's like all this like it's weird. And again, we'll talk about that some more a little bit later. Hannah and Charlie come out next. Ariana again talks about like Iris and TJ quickly, unfinished business, no, we're good. Hannah and Pepe, she's like, they deserve happiness, like Iris and Pepe both, like they're so great, whatever. And I understand like how quickly a mindset can change. And Iris is my girl, and like I'm happy for her. Clearly she's talking about kind of like the Charlie situation, because she knows how quickly a mindset can change, because if we recall, she came in early, Charlie got on like right away, and they were so cute. And then Pepe came, and she was like focused on Pepe kind of like, or getting done. They were kissing in the speakeasy and all these kind of things for like maybe 2 days, and like maybe the night of that second day, Hurley and Charlie talked some more, had like a nice heart-to-heart kiss, whatever. But then the thing is, I remember America voted like that was the night where we coupled up Alandria with Jalen, we coupled up Iris with Jeremiah, and Huda freaked out, and we also coupled up Hannah with Charlie. And that vote came right after Hannah and Pepe kissed. So clearly it was like, Hannah's moving to Pepe, like whatever, we're going to switch this up. And we didn't necessarily know. I mean, we kind of guessed that the people who got left single are going to be vulnerable. So that was the night where the next night that we saw anyway, Hannah and Charlie had this nice heart-to-heart. And it was a nice moment. She was seemingly like, I'm going to be more focused on Charlie, and like, we have something strong, whatever. And then all those couples get split up. And the vulnerable people are Taylor, Charlie, and Huda. And the Islanders have to vote who gets dumped. The people who weren't recoupled have to vote like who is going to get dumped. Huda and Jeremiah were obviously like in a mess, but they weren't going to send Huda home probably. Taylor and Alandria, Taylor had a lot of good friends in there. Again, it's like two OGs. They're not going to want to turn their backs on. And again, there's been chat, like Charlie was saying, maybe it should have been Taylor, because we know, like, obviously now he wasn't really actually feeling Alandria, was kind of stringing her along. Again, respect Charlie for even saying that. But they're talking about that whole kind of thing, and obviously Hannah was upset because she was just getting on with Charlie and like just connected with him. Charlie gets dumped. She like recovers. Her and Pepe go on well, and like there was other things going on with them, and they were great. They were cute, whatever. So there's like that whole kind of chat going on. but she's like saying like basically that's how she understands how easy it is to like your mindset can change quickly. Let's say like when you're focusing on someone else. So I respected that from her. They also talk about Hannah's dumping, and they play unseen footage from that night. So basically that night it was like vote for favorite girl and boy Islander. The bottom three girls were Hannah, Iris, and Amaya. And the girls choosing who to dump were Shelly, Sierra, Huda, and Alandria. They show the conversations. They're going to originally go off it on strong connections. And Shelly's like, I feel like that's hard because like Hannah's connection with Charlie was like quick and is quick with Pepe too. And like, so it's kind of hard to go off that. And they say like Amaya tried so hard. I don't want her to go home. Iris, she's had the least amount of time and she's been trying hard and it's been tough on her because again, the whole Jeremiah Huda situation and that whole whatever. And they said, okay, so it's between Iris and Hannah. Like, just say a name. All the girls say Hannah. So Hannah gets dumped. Hannah cries about it, and you know she's a crier. I like Hannah a lot though. I was really sad when she went, but I really was sad when she went because I liked her a lot. But the things with Hannah, I really rated. She was like, people expect me to be mad at them, the girls, for dumping me, but I'm so grateful for my experience. And if I didn't go, Amaya and Brian wouldn't happen. Iris and Pepe wouldn't happen. Like, I'm so grateful for my experience, and like I'm not focused on like I love them and all these kind of things. And some people could take a cue from Hannah because rather than like fueling, oh yeah, those hoes voted me off and yada yada yada, she just like is like so gracious about it and whatever. And they did actually show the votes for who was the least voted from America. Like later in the show, Hannah was the least voted Islander from America's vote. And we're gonna talk about later with like what happened with the boys on that end too. And also backing up with the Charlie thing, Andy asked anything like, would you guys ever like rekindle whatever? Charlie was like, we never talked about it, and Hannah was like, I would not. Bodasha comes out, she catches up with him. Apparently Bodasha's actual birth certificate name is like Elizabeth-Ann. So she like now goes, but she like started, maybe I don't know, the Bell-A. I don't know why. I don't know. She says some things, whatever. Now here comes Jeremiah. He comes out. They do a little recap video of kind of starting with like the breakfast stuff, everyone giving breakfast, whatever, and then the kind of pancake drama with Huda, like, and some of the arguments after that. And like Huda says, Andy says to Huda, like, did you overact at all? And Huda was like, yeah, it sucked having uncooked pancake, but he tried at least. And Andy said to Jeremiah, you said the relationship was toxic, and Jeremiah was like, yeah, it definitely was. Her doing things like the pancake thing, asking Taylor to cook it, and then out loud, thank you Taylor, trying to like get my attention, like, and maybe like pay close attention to like some of the things that were toxic about the situation. And Andy's like, what everyone else think. Charlie's like, I'm surprised he lasted that long, honestly, because I would have been done with that pancake. Like, it's crazy. Jeremiah's like, on our date, another thing, like, we were talking about like outside the villa, like, yeah, we'd come out the villa, we'd do long distance, we'd like maybe move closer, then we'd move in together, whatever. And then she goes to the girls and says, Jeremiah wants to move in with me. Like, it's kind of like, it's weird. Like, so like now the girls look at me different and they think I'm love bombing. Like, do you think I was love bombing? Like, you telling me you love me in 2 days, and like I was checking on you to make sure I wasn't doing too much, and you said I wasn't, but then also you said I wasn't doing enough, and then I didn't love bomb you. Like, does that make sense, Ace? And Ace is like, you know, he said, I agree. Like, I liked her too much, too fast, but I never love bombed her. Like, you were calling me a scammer, and that's like mad. And Ace was like, yeah, you said like if a bombshell comes in, just tell your girl you love her and she'll never leave you, whatever. Like, yeah, they talking about following after this and money and whatever. And Andy's like, Nick and Taylor, do you agree? And Nick's like, well, whatever Ace says, I agree with, I guess. Haha, like, just joking. And Taylor's like, I feel like Jeremiah was there for genuine reasons. Andy also asked about, like, Andrina, saying, I guess Taylor said in the podcast that Pepe and Nick wanted to get to know Andrina, but Jeremiah, like, said no. But I guess he jokingly was like, no, I'm going to talk to Andrina all day, haha, whatever. And Ace was like, there was a challenge, and Jeremiah was just like, about Austin, bringing Austin out. Like, you said Jeremiah should have went to be axed. And Austin was like, it was a joke. And Ace is like, you see how people get sent home for jokes. They play unseen footage of the deliberations that same night Hannah got dumped, of like the boys deciding who to dump. It was between Jeremiah, Pepe, or Austin. Taylor, Ace, and Nick were deciding. Taylor was talking about, as we've heard him say, like, Jeremiah's repeating the same cycle with Andrina now that he did with Huda. Nick, fair play to Nick, says, like, yeah, he's in that cycle, but I don't want to, like, Austin has no one right now. I don't want to, like, be risking Jeremiah's relationship with Andrina and sending him home just because of, like, the history. Ace is wanting Jeremiah to go home and, like, is with that. So Jeremiah gets sent home ultimately. And, you know, that whole kind of thing. And they talk about, like, Ace maybe potentially being the ringleader, not just that situation, but the whole villa. Charlie was like, I don't know if I felt like he was a ringleader, like I wouldn't let some man lead me or tell me what to do. But like every day he would be asking people like where they're at. He wouldn't always offer the same back. So I was like, I need to pay attention to that, like keep things close to my chest. And Jeremiah was like, yeah, you were my experience, the ringleader. Austin's like, oh, I don't know, that's a weird way to say it. Ace said you did say that, and whatever. Ace says he did regret sending Jeremiah home, and then again they reveal what the votes were, who was rated where. Jeremiah was rated last in that situation. So overall, the girls were Amaya first, Iris and Hannah again in the bottom three, and then the boys was Austin first, Pepe. Who's voting for Austin? Who was voting for Austin? We need to back up. Who was voting for Austin? Austin had so many freaking lives. Ridiculous. Anyways, Austin was first in the bottom three, Pepe and Jeremiah. Ridiculous. Who was voting for, how? I just realized that. How was Austin first? Over Pepe, over anybody? Anyway. And Elandra's like, so in theory, we did the right thing, actually. We got everyone, America would have done it anyway. Like, they would have been voted home anyway. They say, like, anything else to address? Ace talks to Amaya and says, like, that TikTok video you did with Alex Cooper, Amaya says Alex Cooper, joking about my height. I looked, actually, middle in a commercial, I pulled up the TikTok video. I hadn't seen it. And it's, like, Amaya and Alex Cooper, like, looking down, like, oh, POV, you're talking to Ace. And, like, what are you saying down there? And Ace was like, it's just weird because, like, we had a good, like, not just you, but, like, a lot of people, we were, like, a family inside the villa, and then people switch up on the outside. That's what hurts my feelings. And Maya says, like, yeah, if I knew she was going to take the video and do it like that, like, I wouldn't have done it. Like, XYZ. I told my team to try to take it down. They're still up. Like I said, I looked it up during the broadcast today. Whatnot. What else? There's some questions about Beldasha and Jeremiah. I guess maybe there was some video of them out together. They're just friends, though. And now we get to the very end. Andy says, like, there's one Islander who definitely shook up Love Island this summer, and it was Hurricane Huda. They play a video of Huda's best and worst. I have written here worst underlined in capital letters. Worst moments, mostly her worst moments, her being like mean to people, all these type of things and whatever. Huda sat there like laughing as the clip's playing. And I'm sitting there, I'm just focusing on the video, but I'm like, how are you laughing at this? Andy did say to her, I was going to ask you how you felt about that, but I see you were laughing. And Huda's like, yeah, I've done some self-reflection this past month and whatever. I wouldn't act like that now, so I can laugh about it. And Andy was great for this reunion. Andy talked to, he said, so you've done a month of self-reflection, and now you're just a different person. Like, he was not with it. And he was like, you said in interviews that you felt bullied in the villa, but I never saw that as a viewer, so can you, like, help me? Can you fill that in for me? Like, where'd you feel that? Like, you said you felt bullied in the villa. And Huda said, I saw things after of, like, people talking about me and while I was just messing around. They played the clip of, it was the moment where Huda was in the gym, and at this point, her and Jeremiah have, like, broken up, or, like, they've been beefing. Like, Iris and Jeremiah are kind of, like, a little bit of a thing at this point. And this is after she kind of, like, charged at Iris after the date or whatever. Like, it was the whole kind of to-do. She's in the gym. It's Sierra and Nick, Shelly and Taylor all sitting there together. They're talking about, like, yeah, that was crazy, actually, her charging at Iris, and, like, yeah, it's really up and down with them. Huda, like, looks over, thinks they're looking at her or whatever, and she, like, does, like, maybe a little silly thing, and Shelly says, I think she thinks we're looking at her, like, we're not, haha, like, whatever. Like, not even anything crazy, in my opinion. And Shelly says, like, if you feel like you were bullied, I apologize, but it was never that. The thing is, though, again, we need to back up, because Huda has been representing that she's felt her whole journey and experience. She was isolated, she was very bullied, because Andy was like, it seems like you had a good sister with a lot of the girls, like, good girls, whatever. So for you to come out and say you felt bullied the whole, like, basically saying, like, the whole journey you felt bullied, but then to say, well, after I got out, I watched some clips and saw, it was like, so you were conveniently, like, getting videos fed to you or whatever. Like, I don't get, it's just, like, again, it's just weird. It's like, how is that your approach now? I felt bullied after, but I'm going to act like it was during the villa, but I just happened to see videos. And anyways, this whole thing opens up a whole conversation with, like, Elandria as well coming into it, and Elandria saying, like, well, Ariana asked, like, you were really close to Elandria, it seemed like, so what happened? And Huda was like, yeah, I love her down. After the stand on Ambitious, I didn't know who to talk to, because I did say then, and I still say now, Elandria was, like, weird for, like, outing the kiss between Huda and Chris, like, saying, like, oh, well, why did you kiss Chris then when the whole Shelly thing was going on? It it was like, why? I don't get what, that was really weird. And I said that then, again, I say that now. And Alandria went very genuinely, was very like, you know, we were close and I was getting a lot of hate from Huda's fans. Shelly was too. And I told Huda about this and said, like, can you like tell your fans like all the racism and things like that, like don't do that. And this was before they left Fiji to go on the plane to LA. And she said she was going to, but then she never said anything, like never posted anything. And then she said, and I think she must have put something out saying like some like stop the bullying or whatever, but she didn't like specifically say who bullied her or something like that. I don't even know. And so people thought it was Alandra's one of the bullies. So then she got even more hate, and it fed into some other things. And she unfollowed her because on Instagram and maybe other places, because it felt like if we were so close, and I didn't even mean enough for you to like say like Alandra, I love Alandra, or it's not Alandra's not the one, whatever. And Shelly said like, yeah, like you never expressed to me that I felt like a bully to you. Like you never said that to me. We were all in the Airbnb together, the three of us. We were all talking, whatever, and we did tell you about some of the racism we were getting, and you were saying, okay, I'm gonna do something and say something about it. You never did. Again, same thing that Alandria said. Like you said you're gonna do something about it, but this must have been another time I spoke about it. You never did, or maybe it was in Fiji, in the Airbnb, whatever. And Ariana asked to Huda, like, so why did you never post what Alandria asked you to? And Huda says, well, I was dealing with a lot. Alandria was like, it hurt, all that racist stuff. And Huda said, I had it too. And Alandria was like, your face wasn't on George Floyd's body, and like that hurt, that S hurt, and Alandria's crying, and it just wasn't negativity. It was racism. Like, and Andy's like, is that why you two unfollowed? And they're like, yep. And he's like, would you be friends? Shelly's like, I wish her well from a distance. Huda's like, same. Alandria says like, I love her to death, but it really was a turning point for me. And the things with all this, it's very unfortunate that this is not just the United States. This is really anywhere. We see this a lot on Love Island and the original in the UK, and again, it's anywhere. Racism is a very real thing in this world, and we were seeing a lot of uptick in racism with Shelly's, I feel like kind of first, but also Alandria as well. Like after the heart rate challenge, things like that, people picking sides and being really negative, and even publications posting things about Shelly and, you know, the whole knuckle sandwich things they did. I forget who posted that, but like that, some of that just weird stuff and just horrible stuff. My thing is, like, Alandria was having a genuine moment of saying, like, I was dealing with a lot of things, like, all this racist stuff, and Huda's response was, well, I was too. And, okay, like, Huda's a Palestinian girl, so I think she's half Palestinian, so she knows about, like, okay, like, it's, no one's, like, devaluing her situation, but for someone to say, I'm dealing through this, and the only thing you have to say back is, I am too, or, like, or, like, something like that, like, not even saying, like, oh, that's horrible, or, like, whatever. Like, instead of saying, like, oh, I didn't say anything because I had my own things going on. It was very much like, this girl, it's really weird to me. And also, apparently, I just saw she, on her Instagram or TikTok stories, whatever, responded to, like, people talking about her not being able to tell who she was dating because of Netflix. She put that up saying, oh, it's too uncomfortable for me to talk about like my dating life and on a TV show or like whatever. But saying like you can address that but not address like the racism towards Shelly and Alandria. You still haven't said anything about the racism towards Shelly and Alandria. And I don't want to compare, but some people talked about like Leah from season 6, the most popular girl. She didn't win the show, as that Huda didn't either, but the most popular girl in the series in terms of like followers and things like that. And still is to this day has like the most followers of like any Love Island USA contestant. Straight out the bat. I mean, she's good friends, still is good friends with Janae and Serena, that whole PPG thing. Right off the bat, she was like, don't mess with Serena and Janae. Cut it. Because, you know, there was like little bits of like, maybe like little beefs they had before, especially with Janae, with the whole kind of Connor thing. But it was like, don't. And then also on the reunion, which the reunion wasn't 6 weeks after it didn't air 6 weeks after the show, but on the reunion, I remember Leah said like, people who support me, do not act like don't think I hate anybody up here. Like, and Andrea, who she was having problems with, Liv, who she had a little thing with, and then she was like, even Rob, please spare the man. Like, she very clearly on there, I also think that multiple times, like on her platforms, said like, cut it. Don't do it for the sake of me and think you're supporting me by being horrible to people, either racist or just like negativity. Like, cut it. And it's like, I feel like it's a responsibility of people. If you have a platform, especially in this group, where you are all obviously like in the spotlight. If you're the person who has like this brightest spotlight, you you have a responsibility. And Shelly was talking about like some things like you were on the podcast and things like that. You were feeding into this bully narrative. Like you never said any of this to me. We were all fine. And then suddenly I see you on podcast and you're talking all about, you're like, again, you're like not necessarily like speaking well about me in a way. Like it's weird. I don't know. It's just those two girls. I was really proud of them this evening. Like really talking about it because it's really something that needs to be addressed. Like it's madness, and it's just it was just very disappointing from Huda in terms of like, again, it's not saying she hasn't gone through her own things as well, but Alandra is sitting there crying, telling you about these horrible messages she's received and images of her being put on people's bodies, being killed, whatever. It's horrible stuff, and the only thing you have to say like, well, I've been going through some stuff too, huh? And just to wrap here, essentially. The last bit is the heart rate challenge debacle. I forgot they were even going to do this, honestly, because it was after that, but it just felt so heavy. It was just whatever. But they asked Shelly about the heart rate challenge and like, and she said like, what did you feel off about it? She said the whole performance. Like, if you have the clip, I'd rather you just play it than me explaining. They play the whole clip, unseen, the whole clip of Huda and Chris doing the heart rate challenge on Shelly and Ace and everyone else really, but they just focus on the Shelly and Ace moments. So to start, they start with them, and Huda is and remember, Huda and Shelly are good friends at this point. They're really good friends. And Huda is doing a lot. I don't even need to go into it, but she's doing a lot. A lot of things we thought she did seemed like she really did. And it was a lot. And everyone's like, Huda's like, I think I took a step too far. I feel sorry. Like, if I made anyone come from, I'm sorry. It was all consensual, whatever. And Andy was like, do you feel like you overacted or you were justified, Shelly? She was like, it was definitely justified. And yeah, it's all consensual, but I feel like it has something to do with like friendship and his sisterhood. Which I've said multiple times, the problem wasn't necessarily like, because Shelly and Ace were still open at this point, yeah, but it wasn't necessarily like Ace was getting made out with and all these things were happening to Ace. It was like, you were my good friend in the villa and you're doing all this to my man. If it would have been someone else, again, my man who I'm not made exclusive with ever, if it would have been one of the newer girls, it still might have been upsetting, but it wouldn't have been as upsetting because you're not my good friend in here. You're a new girl I don't know as much. Versus when it's like my good friend is doing hella extra with my guy, it's weird. And Shelly was like, I feel like I don't have to tell a good friend of mine, don't like XYZ to my guy, like, because I was just saying like, yeah, like everyone was agreeing like, yeah, it was a really far. They said that on the night, and they said that before they even showed the unseen footage. Like that's why I don't get people were mad at Shelly for reacting how she reacted. And it wasn't like she reacted really mad, like she was really mature. Like even when her tried to pull her that night, Shelly was like, they walked away, and Shelly was like, can we talk later? I'm not in a good headspace right now. And I feel like they didn't deal with it well, like in the whole stand on business thing, but Shelly was justified in how she was feeling because you're my good friend and doing all this is really weird and strange. Anyway, this whole thing is really just like soured more people from me in general. I feel like some people, it was a lot, like I said, it was two full hours. They did a little massive recap video, mostly like happy moments, like people taking nice cute photos, nice little memories together. Good thing to kind of end it. They basically promote like, if you want to be in the show, like apply. Love Island Games is on in 3 weeks, which I'll talk about that later because Love Island Games apparently is going to be live now or something because they said we're going to vote, and part of the magic of Love Island Games was us not being able to vote about it. But anyway, we'll talk about that in another video maybe. And this video was getting far too long, but this reunion was absolutely madness. 2 full hours. There's so much to talk about, even some more honestly, but like I said, it's getting long. I feel like they addressed a lot of things tonight, but some people still didn't take a lot of accountability. Overall, it was really given lots of microphones and big chat on podcasts. And once they got out the villa, when they're face to face with the people, suddenly it's mumbles, it's grumbles, it's I'm sorry you felt that way. Oh, I didn't mean that. I like that, and blah blah blah. A lot of backtracking. People were pedaling backwards. It's like, well, why aren't we standing on business as the challenge? The only people who stood on business truly this whole thing, well, more people too, but I feel like the strongest were Shelly and Alandra. Really stood on what they were feeling. They weren't going to get themselves swayed by people trying to sweet talk them suddenly and, oh, I didn't mean, and all this heart eyes and switch up. They were strong. I really appreciated that. And just overall, in general, I wish all these people the best. Like you, kind of like how Shelly said, like, you know, I wish people well from a distance. I can choose who's in my life. I can choose who I support, who I like continue on with, whatever like that. And that's really my overall feeling for this whole thing. And we'll just see. Like I said, I'd be interested to see if they do like a Beyond the Villa for this group. Obviously this blew up massively, even more than it did last season. And the thing about this Love Island, since it just ended, it just ended for us, but it just also ended for them, so it's still happening. As I said, we found out Iris and Pepe seemingly have broken up, as did Amaya and Brian. We'll see what else we learn about from that, but we'll see some more probably play out in the next several weeks, months, years to come. But yeah, that is the Love Island USA Season 7 reunion wrapped up. Kind of my recap, some of my thoughts. This was longer than I thought, but I knew I was going to probably talk a lot because there was a lot of things to go over. So we'll see you guys in the next one. We'll talk some more about Love Island Beyond the Villa. The finale is this Thursday. Love Island Games is on, which is, if you didn't watch Love Island Games, it's so fun. Watch Love Island Games. That comes on in a couple weeks. But lots more Love Island, and it's almost September. But Love Island seemingly never ends in this kind of season. So yeah, thanks for watching and supporting all these the past several months of these Love Islands show being on, all these recaps, all these crazy things. It's been really good. But yeah, peace out. See you guys soon. Bye bye.